A unified wave of strong public denials initially set the tone, with all involved insisting nothing improper occurred. But that confidence quickly unraveled as contradictory reports emerged, exposing gaps in the original narrative. The Athletic and others faced criticism for early overstatements and lack of verification, fueling backlash as new details kept surfacing. What began as an attempt to control the story instead triggered deeper scrutiny, with each clarification raising more questions than it answered. The situation rapidly shifted from firm denial to escalating uncertainty, turning a contained PR response into the first major crack in a much larger public collapse. When the story spilled beyond sports media, it stopped being just a football controversy and started becoming tabloid fuel. Outlets that normally cover schemes, rosters, and game plans began competing with entertainment platforms like TMZ-style coverage. Mike Vrabel's public visibility suddenly shifted from sideline leadership to constant off-field surveillance. Every appearance in airports, public spaces, or team-related travel became a potential media moment. What intensified the situation further was how quickly social media amplified every sighting and rumor into non-stop discussion. Family members who were previously far removed from football narratives were suddenly drawn into the spotlight as well. The narrative stopped being controlled by press releases and started being shaped by viral clips, speculation, and constant commentary cycles. As traditional reporting blended with entertainment-driven coverage, the line between news and obsession became increasingly blurred. There was no clear endpoint or cooling-off period, only an expanding cycle of attention that fed on itself daily. What once would have been a short-lived controversy transformed into a sustained spectacle with no predictable decline. And in that shift, football stopped being the center of the story and became just the backdrop for everything else. That is when the situation fully crossed into mainstream cultural obsession. When trying to find comparisons for what Mike Vrabel is facing, the conversation immediately runs into a problem. The NFL has seen scandals before, but almost none at this level while a top-tier coach is still actively leading a franchise. The closest historical references usually come from very different contexts. The Tanya Harding-Nancy Kerrigan saga is often mentioned not for football relevance, but for how a single story permanently defined public perception for decades. In the NFL, John Gruden is another example, but his situation escalated quickly and ended with him exiting the league entirely, leaving no prolonged coaching under pressure. Urban Meyer had a turbulent tenure, but it lacked both elite status and long-term organizational investment. Bill Belichick's off-field personal headlines, including his association with Jordan Hudson, are sometimes brought up, but that situation never reached this level of constant media saturation while actively coaching at the highest level. That's the key distinction. Vrabel isn't retired, sidelined, or already in decline. He's operating at the peak of expectations, recently tied to championship-level performance. That's why analysts struggle to name a true parallel. There's no clear blueprint for an active Super Bowl-caliber head coach becoming the center of a sustained national media cycle while still expected to lead a team. Mike Vrabel's situation creates a rare shift in how a top NFL coach is perceived, because it doesn't start from mediocrity or failure, it starts from elite status. He was widely regarded as one of the league's most complete head coaches, known for game management discipline and maximizing roster talent even when expectations weren't high. That reputation matters, because it's what makes the current scrutiny feel so extreme. Instead of being judged purely on wins and losses, every layer of his professional identity is now being reevaluated under constant media pressure. Analysts who once praised his leadership are now questioning whether external noise can start to affect decision-making on game day. Even small coaching choices risk being interpreted through the lens of distraction rather than strategy. The biggest concern is not just performance decline, it's perception collapse. In the NFL, once the narrative shifts from elite leader to question mark, it becomes difficult to reverse without dominant results. Locker room confidence, organizational patience, and media framing all begin to tighten at the same time. Vrabel isn't just trying to coach a football team anymore, he's trying to protect a legacy while it's actively being rewritten in real time. The organizational pressure around the Patriots has quietly become one of the most important layers of this entire situation. On the surface, everything is being pushed as business as usual, but internally there's nothing normal about the environment. The franchise is trying to maintain its identity, discipline, structure, and controlled messaging, while being surrounded by non-stop external noise that it cannot fully shut out. Preparation routines that used to be routine now carry an added weight because every move is being interpreted through a media lens. Coaching decisions, practice intensity, even press conference tone are all being examined for hidden meaning. That kind of atmosphere slowly changes how a team operates, even if nobody openly admits it. The locker room becomes the most sensitive area. Players don't just hear the headlines, they feel the uncertainty that comes with them. Even if performance standards remain high, distraction becomes a background factor that can influence focus over time. For the organization, the challenge is control. The Patriots have historically thrived when they can isolate football from everything else. But this situation bleeds into both worlds, making isolation nearly impossible. And that's the real pressure point, not just handling media attention, but keeping the football environment stable while everything outside it keeps escalating. The personal life factor has become the unseen variable that now sits at the center of everything surrounding Mike Vrabel's situation, and it's the part no playbook in football can really prepare for. NFL coaching is already an all-consuming job, built on long hours, constant travel, and total mental investment in the team. There's very little separation between work and home life once the season begins, and that pressure only increases when external issues spill into public view. What makes this different is how closely personal stability and professional performance are now being linked in public discussion. Every decision Vrabel makes isn't just evaluated as a coach, it's indirectly interpreted through the lens of what's happening off the field. That creates a second layer of pressure that doesn't show up in stats or win-loss records, but still affects daily functioning. The challenge becomes balance, but balance in this environment is extremely fragile. Time demands from the NFL leave little room for recovery or privacy, and anything unresolved in personal life doesn't stay contained anymore. It follows into meetings, travel, and media availability. In situations like this, the key question isn't just whether a coach can manage a team, it's whether he can maintain enough internal stability for everything else not to spill onto the field. The biggest question hanging over this entire situation is no longer about PR strategy or media cycles. It's whether Mike Vrabel will even make it to week 1 as head coach in the same role he holds today. What started as a controlled narrative has evolved into an ongoing reckoning, where every day brings new pressure points, new headlines, and new speculation about stability at the very top of the organization. Inside the league, there's no real blueprint for this. Active Super Bowl caliber coaches are not supposed to become constant national media figures for reasons unrelated to football. Yet here, the noise has not faded, it has intensified, creating a situation where performance, perception, and patience are all being tested at the same time. The organization appears committed publicly, but the longer this stretches, the more uncertainty naturally builds. Every missed opportunity to reset the narrative becomes another data point for critics questioning how long this can realistically continue without impact. That's why the speculation persists, not because of one single event, but because of accumulation, days turning into weeks, weeks turning into ongoing scrutiny with no clear endpoint. And in that environment, the real pressure isn't just winning games. It's surviving long enough in the spotlight for football to become the only story again.